Good morning, everybody, and a happy Wednesday morning to you. Another ridiculously long video because there's so much in here. My God, let's just jump in with both feet and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We are going to start off today with Princess Anne, who went to the Carterton Women's Institute on Thursday, October 9th, but the pictures, of course, are just now being released. She attended the hall of the occasion of its 100th anniversary, with the president of the Institute stating that Anne's visit was very supportive and she chatted to all of the members individually, and she was interested in the history of the hall, which is 100 years old. Fabulous. Let's move on. Let's move on now to Prince William. To start with, for those of you who don't know, he is on the cover of Hello magazine and states that he, quote, thinks constantly about the world his children will inherit. He expressed his desire for George, Charlotte, and Louis to grow up surrounded by nature, opportunity, and a sense of hope about the future, but acknowledges that this future is at risk unless we act boldly now. And of course, this statement was made right before the Earthshot award ceremony taking place in Rio. He also put out a statement right before he left for Rio de Janeiro. This is fabulous. Okay, let's get into it. So, William headed off to Rio de Janeiro for the Earthshot Prize. He was seen wearing a poppy lapel pin. Remember that they're going to be doing the Remembrance Sunday on November 9th. And he was seen arriving with the mayor of Rio de Janeiro, Eduardo Paes. I hope I'm saying that correctly. There was a Welcome to Rio event at an area called Sugarloaf Mountain. William was taken to stand on the top of Sugarloaf Mountain, which has a bird's eye view of the metropolis and, of course, the iconic Christ the Redeemer statue. And then, as they were standing there talking, he was welcomed and handed the keys to the city, which, by the way, is an honor that apparently it's being said is reserved only for the Carnival King. And then the mayor joked, well, he's got the keys. He can do whatever he wants in the next 72 hours because the city belongs to Prince William. I'm still the king, but it'll belong to him. Now, the two of them spoke about issues that ranged from local politics to the landscape to a meeting of global mayors in the city and the recent massive police raid that targeted a drug trafficking gang in Rio, which left 121 people deceased. The mayor said, I spoke a lot. I tried to explain to him the security issue of the city. Obvious, it has a much more deeper than something you can explain in 5 minutes. But he said it was a good opportunity to explain. There was absolutely no shortage of crowds. Do you see this one woman? Let me zoom in for you. So excited was she. She couldn't stop pawing at him, grabbing him, touching his arm. Like she couldn't even wait for him to get to her. She kept like, come on, William, come on, William, come on, William. And she kept touching his back and touching his arm and rubbing on him. And I'm like, oh my God, poor William. But anyway, the point is the people of Rio were really happy to see him, very happy. And William was more than happy to oblige with all the selfies they could possibly want. Now, aside from William, a picture came out clearly showing that all the finalists for the 2025 Earthshot Prize had arrived. In the middle of all this, William sent a message to a very famous game show in Brazil called Dominga com Huck. And apparently the presenter at the Earthshot Prize was doing the game show. So he said, oh, this is fabulous and I can't wait to see you. And, this was shown to the audience who apparently were super excited. So the next thing that William did was he participated in the Generation Earthshot program at the iconic Macarena Stadium. And this is a program designed to empower the next generation of environmental leaders by helping them develop skills, share solutions, and build global networks to create, a lasting impact on the planet's environmental challenges. There were discussions with participants from Brazil, South Africa, and Asia who were there meeting in Rio as part of the 3-day Generation Earthshot Leadership Program. Now, during this event, William encouraged the young people to, quote, believe in their power to shape a greener future and told them, you guys are my hope. Now, when that was over, William headed down to the field to participate in a football session with local students and young climate leaders. Now, we know that William is very athletic like his wife, and he's also very competitive. Well, apparently, while he was playing this game, he took a penalty with the children, and he scored in the bottom right corner. And apparently, everybody just went nuts because he's pretty good at this stuff. These young children are part of what they call Terra FC, which is Earth FC, which is a campaign that aims to educate football fans in Brazil about the climate cause, pushing clubs, fans, and governments to join in the fight against climate change. And before he took to the pitch, of course, William was beaming because he got a signed football shirt from Cafu, I believe is how you say his name. Now, a little bit more information about Generation Earthshot. It's a 3-day program. It's for people aged 18 to 30. And participants on this particular day came from Brazil, Asia, and South Africa, representing regions ranging from the Amazon and Cerrado to the Atlantic forest. That's pretty cool. So the initiative allows them to learn from each other, share their environmental journeys, and define the legacy that they want to leave for future generations. And running alongside the main program is Mini Cop, developed in partnership with the Elena Foundation, which is for children aged 11 to 17 to participate in a version of the UN Climate Conference. Now, the next thing he did was go to the beach where they asked him to play some beach volleyball. Well, I'd have to say personally, I think the man can play. My God, Mr. Hunky Dunky taking off his shoes and getting right in there. So this is the beach volleyball school that is aiming to transform the lives of disadvantaged children through sport, which is an amazing project. And then, of course, he got into the game. Beach, believe it or not, is the Copacabana beach. And this project, Botinho, I believe is how it's pronounced, is an annual free summer program organized by the fire brigade. Now, also, while he was on this beach, he visited the lifeguards who showed him with a demonstration and with helicopters and jet skis, how they carry out rescues on one of the world's most popular beaches, which apparently is very prone to dangerous currents. I think Mr. Hunky Dunky is doing an absolutely fabulous job, and God, he looks buff. And just like before, there were lots and lots of people, and they didn't mind getting handsy with William. Poor William. These people were putting their hands all over him. Now, it was inevitable because William's doing something big. Here comes Harry. Listen to this. So here's what happened. William landed, and at the same time, we knew they were going to do something. Harry put out that he is going to Toronto. Yes, he announced it just minutes after William finished his first engagement in Brazil. Now, we know he's been long criticized for doing trips and engagements at the same time. Didn't he say he was opening up his diary to his father so that this sort of thing wouldn't happen anymore? So anyway, he's going to meet with veterans, members of armed forces community, and military charities. Now, remember, he no longer has any of his military appointments. So my question is, who is paying for all of this? The charities include, by the way, True Patriot Love Foundation, which is who invited him to Canada, and the Halo Trust. So I guess that they're paying for this. Now, they knew there'd be backlash. So Harry's team insisted that the visit was months in the planning and holds a special place in Harry's heart, and said, and I'm quoting, "This visit, months in the planning, marks a return to a city that has a special place in the Duke's heart, having played host to the Invictus Games back in 2017. Harry will attend a charity with the military charity True Patriot Love on Wednesday, and then a private fundraising function with the Halo Trust in the evening, the same day as William's Earthshot Prize, which is the cornerstone of his very successful drive to save the planet." Knowing that this was predictable and people were going to be rolling their eyes, Harry's spokesman said, and I'm quoting, "The events were planned nearly a year ago. The date of the main event, the dinner, is set by the charity, not Prince Harry. And it traditionally extends from the 1st through the 11th of November and has done so since 1918, over 100 years. He can't choose to move those dates." And then he said something that caught everybody's attention. Are you ready? He said, quote, Harry was not afforded the same level of security and protection as other working members of the royal family. It means, therefore, that the period of time in which we can release the dates of events and details is much more truncated than it is for His Majesty the King or the Prince of Wales. We are guided when we can announce trips like this by the advice given to us by his private security advisors and the event security team. This visit, months in the planning, marks a return to a city that has a special place in the Duke's heart, having played host to the Invictus Games, blah, blah, blah. If this man is so worried about his security, number one, why announce where he's going and give his whole itinerary? And number two, I'm sure you caught the fact that he alluded that he is a working member of the royal family. And of course, nobody made a correction. Now, I'll be keeping up with what he's doing, but I'm not going to be reporting on it. We're going to be keeping to the Earthshot prize for, until he's done, okay? Here's what I think William thought of it. Now let's move on to Andrew. I don't know how much I believe these stories for the simple fact that I don't think he has the power. What they're saying now is that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been accused of having any mention of Jeffrey Epstein's victims removed from previous statements from Buckingham Palace, that he repeatedly refused to sign off on statements that express support for victims of abuse. I don't know. Again, if he would have the power to do that. This is, of course, is in stark contrast to the statement released by the palace on Thursday, the one that confirmed Andrew was being stripped of his titles and his residence and everything else. Now, there are reports coming out that he may take up the offer of a palace in Abu Dhabi where he would still be treated as a senior royal. He could live easily under the radar. His personal relationships with women were not likely to be scrutinized. And if anybody had to predict, if we're speaking this time next year, they're saying that's where he'll be living abroad. Could be. Let's turn our attention now really quickly to Rena O. She's a New Jersey-based artist who was involved with Epstein in the early 2000s, and she is the one who I told you previously is continuing her legal action against the estate of Virginia Giuffre, accusing her of having invented and distorted events in her published accounts. I've told you before, Virginia has been caught lying before in court and etc., etc. Anyway, this woman is suing. She was suing before, and now she's going to continue, and she said that right now they're waiting for the estate to be set up, whatever that means, and then she's going to continue on with her lawsuit. All right, let's move on to the whole Harry Meghan thing. There are reports coming out that they are absolutely being snubbed by A-listers, and they're concerned because recent media projects have struggled to gain traction, and they've reached out to a lot of A-listers, and they're declining invitations to collaborate. Taylor Swift refused to go on Archetypes and instead took pictures with William and the kids at one of her concerts when they came to watch her. You've got Mariah Carey, who called Meghan Markle a diva on Archetypes, which really apparently hurt Meghan's, feelings. And also, she recently snubbed her by not mentioning her when she was asked about meeting royalty. John Travolta ended his friendship with them, claiming he didn't want to get involved in any of the royal family drama. The Clooneys stopped talking to them and didn't invite them to their Albie Awards event. Then you've got Oprah, Beyonce, and Michelle Obama, who have all gotten silent since she launched her thing. By the way, Kamala was also at the Fortune Most Powerful Women Summit, and there are no photos, and they're saying that Kamala pulled a Gwyneth. The list could go on and on, but here's really the issue. There's 4 issues. Number 1, Hollywood power players don't want to be seen taking sides in the royal family rift. Number 2, a lot of people feel that the Sussexes brand is toxic and less valuable than the quote-unquote real royal branding that they really want to be associated with, which is William and Catherine. Number 3, Hollywood figures with projects might require access to London or the West End, and they're worried that if they associate with the Sussexes, they could alienate the future king and queen. And also, A-listers are cautious about being used by Harry and Meghan to promote their own ventures, and so they don't want anything to do with them. There you go. Now, as for the difficult Duchess label when it comes to Meghan Markle, reports in late 2024 and throughout 2025 have continued with allegations from former staff members describing a negative, demanding, and chaotic work environment under Meghan. And these reports build upon earlier claims and are often linked to high turnover of staff in her and Harry's ventures. Former employees have shared what they are calling horror stories, saying that no one can keep up with Meghan's impossible standards and high pressure demands. One former staffer alleged that Meghan contacted staff late at night, sometimes at 1 o'clock in the morning, with last minute demands and edits, a practice reportedly known as, quote, midnight meltdowns. Staff have labeled her the Duchess Difficult and the Dictator in High Heels. Reports came out in 2025 that staff members had to seek therapy or took extended leave due to emotional stress from working with her. Recent staff departures, including that of her latest communications director in October 2025, are linked to her reported micromanagement and need to approve every detail down to headlines and commas. And according to royal author Valentine Lowe in the mid-2025 reports, former staffers waited years to speak out publicly because they feared Meghan's capacity for revenge. Now, of course, her reps keep denying all of this. They're fabrications. It's a calculated smear campaign. But, we know what's going on. All right, you guys, you may not know this, but Meghan Markle put up another Instagram clip on how she uses her $16 spice cider mulling spice kit from As Ever to create, quote, a really cozy warm beverage that everyone can enjoy. The first thing I noticed is she's dressed all in white and she's in somebody else's kitchen, again, an all white kitchen. Here's where it gets funny. She basically says, boil some water, take it off the heat, put the spice kit in, and then ladle it into some glasses. She drops in a cinnamon stick, some lemon, a teaspoon of her ridiculous expensive honey, and says if you could add a spirit of choice to make it a little bit more grown up if you want. But it's so soothing, especially in cold weather. And people are like, wait a minute, it's basically mulled water. It's like air freshener in mugs. She just made mulled water. Wouldn't you add those spices to apple cider or wine, not water? They're saying that basically it's a simmer pot that real estate agents put on the stove to make houses smell nice during viewings, but you would never put it in a mug and serve it. It looks like she was making spicy tea because she really had no idea what she was doing. It's Madam Fake It Till You Make It Montecito. Mulling spices are meant to augment a hot beverage like cider or wine, coffee, or tea, okay? But remember, this is the same woman who was teaching us how to can food while holding the canning tongs upside down. This is not a hot toddy. It's what the rest of us use as potpourri for scenting our homes. I certainly wouldn't eat that stuff. All right, let's move on. All right, here's our last story for today. There could be claims that Meghan opportunistically orchestrated a charity visit to Rwanda to promote her quote-unquote humanitarian status. And this is all coming up because the organization World Vision is now under fire after its British arm was hit with allegations of sexism and racism, which, by the way, they deny. And this was about 10 years after Meghan was involved. Now, apparently, Meghan agreed to be part of a film about World Vision's work building water wells in the African country in January of 2016. But it was self-promotion, and she used the 4-day visit to be photographed with village children. In the book, what it comes out is that she made so many demands, including first-class tickets, that the actual producer of the film had to not go. She insisted on flying with Gabor Jarina, who's a Canadian fashion photographer. Michael Goyette, an American hair and makeup stylist, was also listed as traveling. And of course, this photographer came out in 2021 and goes, there was nobody else there. That's not true. But the truth is they were, because they were on the manifest. So here's what happened. She was out with UN Women. Remember, she plagiarized that speech, but she had a relationship with advertising executive Matt Hassel, and he pitched her to the charity's chief marketing officer, Laura Dewar, and Laura was a fan of Suits, and she was very enthusiastic. Meghan agreed to travel to Rwanda to promote the project building water wells within 30 minutes of the call. But that's when she started making all of her demands that put them over budget. Now, it's being reported that Meghan used to disappear with this photographer for hours. He would be picturing Meghan perfectly coiffed, hugging and squeezing and smiling with the village children. And then, of course, she would change clothes and there'd be some more pictures. Now, Miss Serminsky, the woman who had to drop out because Meghan put them over budget, would later conclude Meghan had opportunistically used the trip to pose as a philanthropist because she insisted on several suitcases full of outfits be carried during the 4-day visit. And at the end, it was reported that Serminsky was puzzled because celebrities using a desolate African village as a backdrop was mind-blowing. Yeah. So in the meantime, you have Meghan who's looking lovingly on these children until she doesn't realize that the camera is on her. And this is a perfect example. Here she is lovingly looking at that little boy. But when the little boy had his back turned, Meghan was doing the jaw grinding. She was disgusted. By the way, do you guys remember this picture? Well, a big thank you to Revealing the Narc for finding this. Watch the way she treats this little girl. She doesn't like the child touching her. Who grabs their kids by the wrist? Like, get your hands off of me. That's exactly what that was. But of course, it wasn't an issue when she needed these pictures for the fashion photographer. You guys know what I'm saying. It's disgusting. Oh my goodness, you guys know I want your comments, so put them down and make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.